share the screen. For some reason, the screen sharing is taking time. Do you see the screen now or not yet?
Not yet, Doctor. Cannot see it. Not yet. Now it's appear.
Oh, okay. Okay. So today we are going to continue with the topic of components of traffic system. So we discussed about driver characteristics, two important characteristics, visual acuity and perception reaction time. Today we start with the discussion about pedestrians. So pedestrians, although you are not designing the road for pedestrian movement, but pedestrians impose a very important safety concern for the traffic engineers. Significant amount of deaths and injuries in traffic accidents are to pedestrians. So pedestrians are mainly like they are involved in a significant number in traffic accidents when it comes to injuries and deaths, fatalities. For example, in 2019, there were 65 traffic crash related fatalities or deaths in Bahrain. 38% of them were pedestrians, and 20% of them were under the age of 10. And more than 70% of these deaths happened on local roads having less than 40 miles per hour speed, sorry, 40 kilometers per hour speed. So on local roads we usually feel safer as a pedestrian, but they are not. Even on these roads there are so many even deaths as well. So pedestrians, the interaction of pedestrians and vehicles is when they are crossing the road, when they are crossing the highway. The pedestrian crossing can happen at intersections or at mid blocks. Mid block meaning middle of the road. Mid block meaning middle of the road. Okay. So this is a big problem because pedestrians usually do not, uh, like to walk to a safer place for crossing. Let me ask you this question. Let's say you want to cross a road and you have an intersection at 100 meters. Okay, be honest. There is no grading here. Right? So let's say there is an intersection after 100 meters. How many of you will be willing to walk towards the intersection to cross the road? How many of you are willing to walk 100 meters from your place to cross the road? Not you, okay. You can raise your hand. Raise your hand. If you want, if you are willing to cross, raise your hands. If you are willing to walk 100 meters, raise your hand. Okay, only three. Mariam as well. Okay. I was saying raise the hand in the from here. You see, from here. Okay, so out of Out of 26, 3 or 4. I know most of you don't want to do it. I just want to know how many of you are willing to do it. Okay, so you don't have to publicize that I don't want to be safe. So out of 26, sorry, out of 24, 2. Why we should do it? I don't know. It's a matter of safety, right? Okay. So there were only 2 or 3, so I will not ask the next question. Uh, in the previous section, there were eight students who said we are willing to walk. Okay, so I asked in the next question, how many of you are willing to walk to a pedestrian bridge? Let's say there is no intersection and there is a pedestrian bridge. So you have to walk and then you have to climb up the bridge to cross. So out of 8, I think 4 were left who said yes. Okay. In your case, I think nobody will be doing that, right? There are only 2 or 3 guys who are saying we will even just walk. Okay. So coming back to the point, it's your own opinion, it's your own choice. I don't want you will use the bridge, but you will not walk to the intersection. Again, remember the bridge is also 100 meters away. Okay, the bridge is also 100 meters away. Okay, so you will go to the bridge but not to the intersection. It's not funny, you are not clear, you are confused, Hussein. Okay, anyways, like I said, it's your own opinion. I'm not criticizing you. This is what you feel, you should do it. Okay, coming back to the topic here. The main point was the main point here is that majority of you said we will not walk. Okay, so obviously you can expect pedestrian crossings at the in the middle of the road or at the intersection. Both are possible. Okay, so you have to prepare. You have to be prepared in your design on both types of locations. Okay, you cannot say okay we have a intersection. The people will go to the intersection, cross from there, and that's it. No, you will have people who will not go that far and cross from the middle. Okay, so you have to be prepared for that. Now, when you are doing that, you must know how much time the pedestrian needs to cross. Okay, and in order to calculate that time, you need the speed of the pedestrian and the width of the road. Normal speed of the pedestrian for majority of the pedestrians, the normal speed is 4 feet per second. For pedestrians who have old age, who are of old age, maybe more than 60, their normal speed is 3.5 feet per second. Okay, so this is the speed. Then you divide by the width of the road, you get the time. There's a manual which is called as Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices. You can see the name here. So this manual deals with the design of the traffic control devices, including signals, roundabouts, and pedestrian signals and so on. So according to this manual, they are saying that use a speed, a normal speed of 3.5 feet per second for clearance intervals, pedestrian clearance intervals, and use a speed of 3 feet per second for normal crossing time. Now, obviously, as I said, they are talking about pedestrian signals. Okay, signals which are used for pedestrians. So when the signal becomes green, in that time, we assume that the pedestrians are crossing at a speed of 3 feet per second, which is even lower than the elderly pedestrians, right? I said more than 60 will have a normal speed of 3.5. So we are, according to this manual, they are on the safer side. They are saying even in normal green times for the pedestrians, assume a lower speed, 3 feet per second. Okay. Then there is a flashing time, which they are calling as clearance time. So we have flashing green in Bahrain, right, for vehicles. Flashing green means what? The signal is about to turn yellow and red, right? It's the indication that the green is about to end. Okay, so what do? If you are close to the signal, you will speed up. Okay, or if you are already if you have already crossed the stop line and you see the signal flashing, that means now you don't have much time. Okay, so you will speed up. Okay, so same thing for the pedestrians as well. Now in Bahrain, we use, on the pedestrian signal you will see the symbol of a crossing man, right? A symbol of a man with a pedestrian signal. On in other countries in Europe, and this is from America, from USA. So on the pedestrian signal, they use the symbol of a hand. Okay, so obviously when the signal is flashing, the hand will be flashing, right? The hand will be flashing. So those pedestrians who start to see the flashing hand, they know the signal is about to turn red for them, so they will move faster. Okay, so that's why they are saying, they are calling it the clearance interval, and they are saying use a higher speed in that case, because the pedestrians already have the indication the signal is about to turn red, so they will move faster. But again, as I said, they are on the safer side, so even in that case, they are assuming a speed which is normal for older pedestrians, 3.5 feet per second. Okay, so normal green time speed is 3 feet per second according to the manual, and for fast phase, the clearance interval, the speed is 3.5 feet per second. And then we come to vehicle characteristics. Vehicles are divided into 4 categories according to AASHTO. Now, how many of you can tell me what is the full form of AASHTO? You can write it in the message. Full form of AASHTO. You must have read it in maybe geotech, maybe in some material course as well. Full form of AASHTO. So you are saying American Association? Yes, right. Honey stopped in the middle. Okay, so this is correct. American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials. Uh, so according to them, vehicles are divided into 4 categories: passenger cars, buses, trucks, and recreational vehicles. Now these categories are according to the purpose of the vehicle, use of the vehicle, not according to their size. Because if you see passenger cars, so we see in the description here, minivans are also here, vans are also here, pickup trucks are also here. So some of us have like big trucks, okay, Silverado or something, Ford or something like this. So they are very big, but they are used by a single person for his or her own trips, so they are still considered as passenger cars. Then we have buses. So you must have seen school buses and some smaller buses which take people to factories and so on. So, but they are still for public transport, so they are in buses. Trucks, they are used for uh, transporting goods and materials. So anything which is in that category, irrespective of the size. So you see, single unit truck is a very small truck. If you look at the description, a single unit truck is a very small truck, but a tractor trailer, a semi trailer is a big truck. Okay, if you want to see some variation of trucks, go towards Causeway, King Park Causeway. You will see a very large variation in the sizes, but all of them are considered as trucks. Then we have recreational vehicles. These are the vehicles which are used for recreation, enjoyment, picnics, okay, tours, trips, family trips and so on. So for example, you are going for boating and you have a boat. So you will attach that boat with your car. So that becomes a recreation vehicle. So if you're using a car without any attachment, that's a passenger car. But if you attach your bike or boat or camper with a car, that becomes a recreational vehicle. Okay. In European countries, even in USA, it is very common to have motor homes. So these are big luxurious vehicles. If you have seen the vehicles which are taken by celebrities on tours, the musicians and artists, when they go on tours, they don't want to, they don't stay in each and every hotel because of the security and because of many other reasons. People invade those places, so they take these big luxurious uh, buses with them, and inside the bus there's a bedroom, a kitchen, a toilet, everything. Okay, so they are very luxurious. So similar things are owned by common people as well in many countries, like I said, European countries, USA, and so on, and they travel in these motorhomes from one place to other. So that is also a recreational vehicle. Okay, but it is not very common. Even in those countries, they are not very common. And in our case, you don't see them here. I haven't seen anything at all like this. Okay, which vehicle characteristics are important for design? Braking, meaning deceleration, acceleration, low speed turning, high speed turning. These are important vehicle characteristics for highway design. Uh, these vehicles are affected by the size, weight, and operating characteristics of the vehicle. Okay, so a larger vehicle will most probably have more weight as well, and then in that case, its deceleration and acceleration will be slower, and it will require more turning radius, more turning space. Then we come to operating characteristics. Operating characteristic is related to the internal mechanism of the vehicle. The internal mechanism of the vehicle. So it may, uh, you know, cancel out the effect of the size and weight. For example, you have uh, big cars like SUVs. So SUVs are bigger in size and they are heavier, but their engine is also 6 cylinders, 8 cylinders. Okay, so that doesn't make them slower. Their size and weight doesn't make them slower. In fact, they are faster than the smaller passenger cars. Okay. Another extreme example is an airplane. An airplane is way bigger than a car and way heavier than a car, but it doesn't mean that it is slower than a car. Okay, airplane has speed has no match to a car, right? So why? Because of its operating characteristics. The engine inside the airplane is supposed to carry that weight and size at a very high speed. Okay, so operating characteristics of the vehicle can cancel out the effect of size and weight. Okay, but normally, as I said, heavier, larger vehicle have lower acceleration rates and need more space for turning. Now, on the road, you will have different types of vehicles. From all those types, we have to pick one as your design vehicle. That one vehicle cannot be picked without the knowledge of the vehicles which will actually go from the road. So you cannot pick the largest vehicle available in the country for the design of your road without any reasoning. So if I'm designing a local road, a road in the residential area, or a road in the educational area near a school, then and if I propose that my design vehicle will be a trailer truck, then this doesn't make any sense. A trailer truck will never come on that street. Okay, so that road or that street should not be designed for that vehicle. It's not expected there. So the vehicle which you are taking for your design must be that which is expected on the road, expected to come on the road. Now vehicles, different types of vehicles come in different numbers, right? Some vehicles will come more often than the others. So the vehicle which you are selecting, it should incorporate at least 95% of traffic mix. It should be sufficient for at least 95% of vehicles. So it should be largest vehicle at least for 95% of traffic. For example, you have small passenger cars and smaller vehicles. Among the big vehicles, you have three big vehicles which are coming to the road. You have a 100-foot vehicle, 100-feet length vehicle, 150-feet length vehicle, and 180-feet length vehicle. Okay. The one which is 100 feet, it comes on the road 6% of the times. Okay. The one which has 150 feet length, it comes on the road 3% of the times. Okay. Like its percentage in traffic is 3%. And the one which is 180 feet has percentage of 1%. Okay. It is like 1% of total traffic. Now, if I pick the 100-foot vehicle, so I'm ignoring the bigger vehicles, right? By ignoring 150 feet and 180 feet vehicle, I'm ignoring how much percentage of traffic? I'm ignoring 3% plus 1%. Okay, so that I'm covering basically 96%, right? Ignoring 4%, 3 plus 1 is 4. So I'm covering 96%. So I'm fulfilling this criteria. I'm fulfilling this condition. Okay, but let me change it. Let's say the 150 feet vehicle comes comprises of 4% of traffic mix, and the one which is 180 feet, or let's say the one which is 150 feet, the one which is 150 feet has comprises of 4% of traffic, and the one which is 180 feet comprises of 2% of traffic. Okay, so if you take 100 feet as your design vehicle, then you are ignoring 4 plus 2, which is 6%. So you are not covering 95% of traffic, right? Okay, so the maximum percentage of traffic mix you can ignore is 5%. Okay, so if you are ignoring a vehicle,
I don't understand it properly.
Sorry,
I didn't understand this point properly.
I am saying if you take design vehicle of 100 feet, right, then you are ignoring the bigger vehicles, right? So 150 feet, 180 feet is ignored. Okay, now you can do that if the combined percentage of these vehicles, 150 feet and 180 feet, in the traffic is not more than 5%. The combined percentage of heavier vehicles, larger vehicles in traffic is not more than 5%, then you can ignore them. Then you can take the whatever vehicle you are taking. Okay, but if the combined percentage of 150 feet and 180 feet vehicle is more than 5% in traffic, then you cannot take 100 feet as your design vehicle. Then you cannot ignore both of them. Okay, so for example, like I said, if the percentage of 150 feet vehicle in the traffic is 4%, the percentage of 180 feet vehicle in the traffic is 2%, so their combined is 6%. So any vehicle which is taken less than 150 feet, any design vehicle which has a size of less than 150 feet, that means you are ignoring 6% of traffic. So that is not allowed. That is not allowed. Okay. Now if I take 150 feet as my design vehicle, then I'm only ignoring a bigger vehicle which has 180 feet length, and that has only a percentage of traffic as 2%. So I'm covering 98% traffic, and I'm only ignoring 2% of traffic. That is allowed. Okay, now go ahead.
Doctor, I have a question.
Yeah.
Sometimes the nearby area to this road is changing with time, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So maybe sometimes the percentage of 2% become 5%, 60% with moving time. So what's the solution for this issue?
You consider the future.
Okay, and the calculation.
Okay. So you have a design life 20 years. So see what will happen after 20 years. Okay. Sometimes we do it in stages. So for the time being, I will take a smaller vehicle because currently the design mix will be of a smaller vehicle. After 10 years, I'm expecting the area to change and the design vehicle will be bigger. So currently the road will be of a smaller cross section, but I will reserve the space for expansion for future. So what will happen after 10 years? I'm not constructing it right now, but I'm reserving the space for it. So after 10 years, I know I have to expand the road, but the space should be reserved from now. Even if you are not doing the construction for the future, at least reserve the space which you will require for the future. Okay. Then we have some guidelines here. We have a single unit truck is the minimum design criteria for any road. Why single unit truck? Because it covers emergency vehicles, ambulances, police vehicles, police trucks, I mean, fire trucks. Okay, so that's why roads should be designed for single unit truck. Passenger cars are used for design of parking lots because 99% times only the passenger cars will be using it. These design vehicles affect mainly, obviously they affect all parts of the road, but mainly they affect the curvatures and the turnings on the intersections. The curvatures, the curves, and the turning on the intersection. This is their main area of influence. Okay. On other parts of the road, their effect is on the width of the lane, mainly again, width of the lane. We will see some other effects later on in some other chapters as well. But their main effect is on the width of the lane and the width of the lane on a straight road and width on the curves. They're the normal width of the lane and they're the width of the lane for curves, which is normally wider than the normal width. Okay, the width of the lane on the curvature is normally higher than the normal one. Why? Because it is not possible, especially for heavy vehicles. It is not possible, especially for heavy vehicles, to make the turn in a completely circular manner. And you would know, as a driver, we don't have a compass, right? Even if I'm driving a very small car, it is not possible for me to make the turn in a completely circular manner. So vehicles tend to go right and left from the center line. So that's why we need to have more width, more lane width on the curves, so that this swaying and this off tracking of the vehicle can be covered. Okay, so that's why we have lane widening on the curves. So the vehicles have some margin when they go off from the center line. The modern range of lane widths is from 9 to 12 feet. 10 feet is acceptable on many roads. In Bahrain, we follow a wider standard. So most of the roads have a width of 3.5 meters or more, okay, which is more than 9 feet or more than 10 feet as well. Okay, so most of the roads you will find the lane width of 3.5 meters or more. Okay, in a high speed road, it is even more than that. Okay, so it can go up to 4 meters as well. So we are following a wider standard in that. That's why we enjoy driving, right? That's why we are not pedestrians. Then coming to the turning characteristics of the vehicle, they can be divided into two types: low speed turns, high speed turns. And what is the difference between them? You can see it here. Low speed, the range is 10 miles per hour or less. High speed, more than 10 miles per hour. Okay. What is the difference? Why we have this classification? In low speed turns, the dynamic forces acting on the vehicle are very low. So it becomes easier for the driver to make the turn. Because of the external forces, the dynamic forces are very low. For example, wind, friction, okay, and any other force which is acting on the vehicle, its effect increases with the speed of the vehicle. So if you are making the turn at low speed, then their effect is minimal. So when you are designing a location where you are expecting the driver to make a low speed turn, then considering the size of the vehicle is enough. Like you can see, it is mentioned in the last paragraph. If you have a vehicle of this size, if you have a vehicle of passenger car, this much radius is enough. For this vehicle, this much radius is enough. Okay, this is for low speed turning situations. Okay, and there is a table as well, a bigger table here you can see. So according to the size, you can see the radius is mentioned. I'll come back to it. On high-speed turns, locations where you expect drivers to make turn at high speeds, more than 10 miles per hour, then you need to consider the effect of dynamic forces as well. To consider that effect, or to incorporate that effect, we need to provide an extra element in our design which is known as super elevation. Okay, so this is the slope, the cross-sectional slope of the road, which is provided on the curves to facilitate the turning of the driver at high speed. And obviously its value changes according to the speed of the driver. Okay, so high speed turns are not dominated by the size of the vehicle. They are dominated by the design of the road and the speed. But low speed turns are dominated by the size of the vehicle. I'll come back to the high speed turnings. This is, like I said, this is a table for low speed turns. You know the size, pick the radius. Okay, P means passenger car, SU means single unit, bus obviously is bus. Then you have different other types of trucks, okay, which are not single unit. Then you have recreational vehicles. So the last four are recreational vehicles. So two types of radius are given. Two types of radii are given. One for the center line of the inside lane, and one for the edge of the inside lane, inside edge of the inside lane. So for example, this is the turning. So you can see two lanes are here. So obviously the inside lane, the one which is inside of the curve, has smaller radius. So this is more critical. So if you can design this safely, then obviously the outer lane is safer as well. Okay. So this is why they have given the values for the inside lane. So this is the value for the center line of the lane, this line, center line, and this is the value for the inside edge of the lane. Why two values are given? Why not just the center line value? Because of the lane widening. I told you. Vehicles cannot follow a circular path, so we need to provide certain amount of widening. So this lane widening may be different. Okay, at this point of the curvature where we're making the full turn, then the widening is required more.
Radius.
You have a question?
Starting to the end, or from which point to which point?
Sorry?
Can you specify more from which point to which point is the radius?
From the curve to the center of the curve. You cannot see the center of the curve. Center of the curve is somewhere here.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay, so yeah, so because of lane widening they have mentioned, so how much extra width you should provide for certain vehicles when they are making the turn. So that's why we have two values, one for the inside lane, one for the inside edge of the lane. So you know how much the lane width should be, okay, on the curvature. Now if you go from this part of the table to the bottom part, from top to bottom, you would see the difference between inside and the center line is more. Okay, so it's not fixed. I cannot say this is 11 meters or this is 9 meters, so all of them are 9 meters. No, again it depends upon the size of the vehicle. So if you're designing for a bigger size vehicle, then you need more lane widening. Like I said, heavier vehicles have a more tendency of off tracking, going away from their center line. Heavier vehicles, because obviously because of their size. Okay, so that's why the difference between these two values increases for heavier vehicles and vice versa. For high speed turns, you already have an equation to calculate the radius of the curve, which is this equation. So the first equation is in feet, the second one is in meters. This is the only difference between them. Okay, feet and meters. And you have already gone through this equation in highway engineering course. Okay, so I have a question for you. So R is the radius of the curve. What is S, E, and F? S, E, and F in this equation. Tell me. S, E, and F. As I said, both equations are same, just the units are different. Side distance, wrong. E is super elevation, right. F is friction, yes. What is S? What is S? No. Speed, yes. S is the speed, yes. So S is the speed, and E is super elevation, and F is coefficient of side friction. Now E is slope, obviously, cross slope. F is a ratio, okay, and S is the speed. So E doesn't have any units, F doesn't have any units. Only units are associated with R and S. So if you want R in feet, then S should be in miles per hour, and this equation should be used, the first one. Okay, so the first equation, S in miles per hour, R in feet. Okay, second equation, S in kilometers per hour, R will be in meters. And these two factors, 15 here and 125 here, include the conversion factor. So whatever the value of S you have in miles per hour, you directly put it here without any conversion. You get the answer in feet. And same thing here with kilometers per hour and meters. We have standard values and ranges for super elevation. Minimum is 0.5%, which can be given even for low speed turns. Maximum 12%, and it increases with the speed. So 12% means high speed road. Roads on which you have snowfall or heavy rainfall, areas in which you are expecting heavy rainfalls, then maximum super elevation is up to 8%. So for a country like Bahrain, where rainfall is not so common, you can go up to super elevation of 12%. But if you are designing a road in Malaysia, where super elevation, where rains are very frequent, then up to 8% is enough. Otherwise, at higher slopes, the vehicles tend to slide, like slip. Okay. Then for side friction, F is you said friction, we call it side friction because it is perpendicular to the pavement, across the pavement. There is friction across the pavement. Okay, so we call it side friction. So you have a table here for side friction. You have the speed, then find out the coefficient of side friction. Okay, this is a problem now. Minimum radius of curvature is to be found. The speed is given 70 miles per hour. Rate of super elevation is given 6%, and coefficient of side friction is given 0.1. Okay, so again, simple. You put these values in the equation. S is 70, E is 0.06, and F is 0.1 feet. So like I said earlier, S is in 70 miles per hour. So you don't see any conversion with the 70 here. 70 is directly put in the equation because this 15 has a conversion. Okay, so you don't have to do it. But you see, feet is written with the answer, not miles. Okay, so many of you make this mistake, and they either do the conversion or they write the answer in miles. Okay, don't do that. Okay, got it? Now I have a question here. What if in this question, in this F is not given, coefficient of side friction is not given? What would you do in this question if coefficient of side friction is not given? What would you do? Calculated how? Shogi, we will use mainly feet. Yes, Mariam and Hussein, you are right. You will use the table. Okay, there is no word. Hussein, there is no or here. Okay, use the table. That's it. So the F given in this question was just to avoid looking at the table. Okay. If I gave you the speed, I don't need to give you the table, the F value. Okay, there's a table. If you have the speed, just go to the table. Okay, don't need to calculate. Okay, there's no or here. You cannot calculate it. Okay. So what I will do during this course, I've read the comments from the previous semesters. Students tell me that we need more practice, or we need to see different variations of the questions, because when they come to the exam, we don't know what to do. So I will be playing this what if game, right? Like I've heard they are now starting the what if series as well. The Marvel, what do they call it? Okay, the Marvel house. They are starting the what if series. So we are starting our own what if series in traffic engineering. Okay, I know many of you have heard about it, right? So we will have our own what if series with the questions. Obviously, I cannot solve many questions in the class. I cannot give you unlimited questions for practice. And whatever I give you for practice, or whatever I do in the class, I have to give you something different in the exam. Okay. So whatever you do in the class, it will not come in the exam. Be prepared for it. Okay. But just to facilitate you, just to keep your mind running, I will give you these small variations in the class. What will happen if I change this? Okay. So this is strictly to benefit students who are paying attention in the class, who are looking at the videos and so on. Okay. If you are not paying attention in the class, if you don't take the if you don't have a second look at the videos, obviously then you are relying on the slides, and then you are on your own then. Okay, don't expect me to facilitate you further. Okay, this is the only thing which I can do. Okay, so be attentive. Hopefully you will not have any problems. Okay, second question. Highway radius of 800 feet, radius is given. So valuation is given. Speed, they are asking us for speed. Maximum safe speed for this height. Maximum safe speed for this height. So S is unknown. So we have the same equation. R is 800 feet. E is 0.06, 6%. We don't know F here, but you said we can take F from the table. Coming to the table, we need speed, but the speed is asked in the question. So I don't have S and I don't have F. I need at least one of them to get the other. So what should I do in this case? Okay, you can see here they are taking F as 0.1. So how did they found that F should be 0.1? Why F is 0.1 here? Assuming iterations, not minimum, not because just it's a minimum. You had to assume something, so you assume minimum. Okay, so Hussein, you're right. Mariam, you're right. Mahmoud, just one important thing is they did not take it because it's minimum. They assumed any value. So for their convenience, they assume the minimum. You can assume the maximum. Okay, so taking it minimum is not fixed. Taking it minimum is not fixed. You can assume it to be 0.16 as well. Let's start from here. Okay, so you assume any value from the table, any value, minimum, maximum, middle, whatever. Okay, so now since you have assumed F value, so you can calculate S here. So they calculate S, 43.81. Okay, come back to the table. If F is 0.1, then speed should be 70. If F is 0.1, speed should be 70. It's coming out to be 43.81. So your assumption is wrong. Cross it out. F cannot be 0.1 and S cannot be 43.81. Okay, cross it out. Re-assume another value. So this value didn't work. Go to the next one, 0.12. Do the same thing. So replace S as 0.12. Again calculate S. In this case, it should come out to be 60 or close to 60. Okay. If it does, fine. If it doesn't, cross the value. Again, cross the value. So 0.1 didn't work, 0.12 didn't work. Then you go to the next value, replace F as 0.14, and then recalculate S. If it comes out to be 50 or close to 50, stop. Otherwise, cross it out, move to the next value. Okay. In this case, you will be doing 3 iterations. 0.1, you can see the S value here, didn't work. If you put 0.12 as well, it will not come out to be 60. Just believe me on that. Otherwise, you can try it yourself. Put F as as 0.12. You can calculate S. It should come out to be 60. It didn't, so we crossed it out. The final value is this one. So when they tried f 0.14, it worked because S was very close to 50. So they stopped here. So the safe speed on the highway is 49.1 miles per hour, and this is the final value. Okay,
Doctor?
so you can assume from any side minimum, maximum, but it should match with the speed which is in the table. Yes.
Doctor, what if in this situation the value should be in between, for example, between 30 and 40? This is the reasonable number to use.
I will share with you another table later on which has even values in the middle as well for F.
Okay, thank you.
So you can use that table. Yeah. Okay.
But
The next
Victor,
important characteristic
its
of the vehicle.
value,
Yeah.
its value in between, it will take so much time, assuming.
What can we do, my friend?
That means that's the only way.
Obviously. You have one equation, two unknowns. What other way you have? Okay. You can prepare an Excel sheet. It will be faster. You can write the formula in the calculator and just keep on replacing the value of F. It will be faster. Okay. So I can tell you tricks, but the procedure will remain the same. Procedure will not change. Okay. Next important characteristic of the vehicle is braking distance. So distance can be calculated as speed into time. But when you are braking, your speed is not constant because you are decelerating. So we will not take one speed, we will take average speed. Average of initial and final. Average speed into time. So initial speed is whatever speed you have. Final speed is 0. So it will be initial speed plus 0.2. Average will be initial speed plus 0.2, which you see here. So S is the initial speed plus 0.2, that means S upon 2. And time, now acceleration is speed upon time, right? Acceleration is speed upon time. So time is speed upon acceleration. Okay, so you see S upon A here. So if you merge these two brackets, so this is time, S upon A is time, and S upon 2 is average speed. Merge these two brackets, you will get S square upon 2A. Again, I need the answer in feet. S will be in miles per hour, and then we have divided by 2 as well. So if you put the conversion of miles per hour to feet per second and then square and divide by 2, you'll get 1.075. So you have it with the conversion factor here. Okay. Now the value of A or deceleration depends upon the friction and the gravity. Okay. So friction is skid resistance. Now this is a different F. This is not the side friction of this question or this formula. This is across the pavement. I told you this is for turning across the pavement. So they are saying side friction. Okay. This one is skid resistance. This is along the pavement. Along the pavement. So side friction across, skid resistance along the pavement. So F value depends upon deceleration and gravity. And F can be calculated as A upon G. A is deceleration, G is gravity. Okay, we know the value of gravity in feet per square seconds and meter per square seconds, both of them, right? So if F equals to A upon G, then A equals F into G. A equals F into G. So we replace A here with F into G. F into G. Okay, and 1.075, you do the inverse and divide by 32.2, you'll get 30 here. Okay, so 30 has a conversion factor and the value of gravity. 30, this 30 has a conversion factor and the value of gravity. Okay, now this is a very simple equation where you assumed the final speed to be 0 and you did not consider the effect of gradient. The final speed was 0, no effect of gradient. Okay, if you add the effect of gradient and initial and final, none of them is 0, then this equation will change into this. So you can see the two values of speeds here, initial, final, and you can see the gradient as well. Okay, gradient can be plus or minus. Plus is for upward gradient, minus is for downward gradient. Okay, so here again gradient, no units slope, F, no units coefficient of friction, it's a ratio, S, In this equation, S will be in miles per hour, dB will be in feet. S in miles per hour, dB in feet for this equation. Then if you have S in kilometers per hour, dB in meters, then you will use this equation. So this equation, the one on the right hand side, is for meters, and the S should be in kilometers per hour. And the one on the left hand side, S should be in miles per hour, dB in feet. Now F, as I said, is A upon G. A upon G. So G is already a constant, and AASHTO has recommended a value of deceleration which is 11.2 feet per square seconds or 3.41 meter per square seconds. Okay, so you can calculate the value of F if you know the constant of gravity and you know the deceleration rate. So using the AASHTO recommended deceleration rate, the value of F can be calculated. Okay, so in the next class, inshallah, we will continue with this topic and we'll start with some examples. If you have any questions, go ahead, please tell me. Thank you for bearing with me. I took some extra time. Any questions, any problems?
Doctor, in exam,
Yeah.
in exam, the equations will be given.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Doctor, I have problems with the blackboard. It's keep cutting the voice and I don't know. It's not clear. And also your voice is not clear in here.
Huh.
Some words cutting.
What about the others?
Also, you can check the playback. It's the same problem.
Sorry.
For me, Doctor, for me it's fine. Maybe the problem in his computer or his blackboard.
Let's see. I will ask the others. Otherwise, Saad, you have to do something. You have the same problem, Maran?
I don't know. But also on playback and record, same problem. Some words cutting and maybe some incorrect correction from your side. I don't know.
Okay. Actually, I was instructed by the department to use Blackboard. I can ask them. What about Teams? You are more. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
you will
Teams
use
is
Teams
better.
and have the same problem. Teams is better, right?
If-
That's what
yeah,
I feel.
it's much better.
Anyways, I will ask them. Otherwise, what can we do? You have to work with it. Okay, I have to ask for the permission. Their permission.
Okay, thank
I
you
will let
very
you know,
much, Doctor.
inshallah. I will let you know, inshallah.
Doctor, when we supposed to tell you about our road correction, our road choosing for project?
You don't have to tell me. Just prepare your submission with the location and the names and the 15 minutes data and submit it. I already gave you the road should have more than 2 lanes, median 80 kilometers per hour or more speed. If you are fulfilling these things, no construction work there. Fulfilling these things, go ahead. Okay, submit it there. Some of the groups already submitted. Okay, so if you want to know which roads are already taken, you can see in those folders. Okay, the folders which I have made in the Teams. You can see there, and if you see that your road is not taken, go ahead, hurry up. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you all. Thanks for listening to me. Thanks for participation. Have a nice weekend. I will see you guys on Sunday, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, sure.